The high speeds and high banks of Derek's Moto-Drome won't keep these truckers held down. The series is taking a West Coast swing through California for the final 2 races of the round of 8. From El Dorado, this is the Derek's Moto-Drome 350. Hello again, everybody. I'm Colin Denton with RVN. Welcome to the 10th race of the NFRN Truck Series, the second in the round of 8. We are at Derek's Moto-Drome Raceway Park, a little bit of a detour from the other 2 series who are up in Washington at NASCAR, and these truck guys are going to try to take on that behemoth of a turn over there. 40 degrees in banking, turn 2 is very wide. We're going to see what kind of strategy these guys have to try to tackle this extremely difficult course and see if they can make their way forward into the playoffs. We already saw that these standings got a little topsy-turvy. Jasper Rouse got in on an open spot. He had the best performance at Toronto, finished 4th. He propels himself up to the top of the standings. We've seen guys who have had solid runs throughout the season. Adam Kuhn finished 9th. He's on a streak of 4 top 10s in a row, trying to see if he can continue to move forward with that. We've got a lot of guys that are struggling right now. Clint McComb, he's had a few good finishes this season, but he is down there at the bubble line. Steve Ray got on an open spot, but finishes haven't quite gone his way. Dalton Wise has dropped all the way to the back. This is going to be a tough track to tackle, and having a bad result at Toronto is really going to affect you heading into this race. You have got to be perfect if you want to make yourself get to the next round. Let's take a look at where we're racing today. Obviously, as we mentioned before, a little bit further south from our 2 other series up in Washington. 35 miles to the east of Sacramento is the 4,000 person town of El Dorado. Once the epicenter of the California gold rush of the 1850s, this town now registered as a state historical landmark, and it's up in this mountainous, unincorporated community that we find Derek's Moto-Drome Raceway Park. Now we see our part-timer races, a lot of trucks entered in this one, seeing how they can get along, and right away we've got contact between Addison Steinbach and the 95 of Mitchell Collins. That's going to put the 58 of Louis Usher up on his roof as he hits the turn 1 wall. Up in turn 2, Carson Clevenger gets a little loose, and that's going to be the treacherous turn. We might see a few of those incidents today. He's going to go for a tumble. He'll land on all 4s. We're going to see another incident over here in this turn. That is Logan York. He's going to go for a flip. Barely misses getting clobbered by Clayton Thompson. And then trouble off of turn 1 here. Justin Garza and Ryan Reed going to make contact, and there is a multitude of cars get involved in this one. Probably one of the bigger accidents we're going to see here today. If all of those cars are flipping over there in turn 2 and hopefully not getting clobbered. We'll end off this duel with Justin Zeidel up front. Tyler Sage, Richard Fridge, Jordan Probst, and Etienne Jones will have the advantage trying to go toward the feature race. We move on to duel number 2, and another 40 trucks trying to take on this track. The 61 is going to get up in turn number 2. Max Shadow is going to be the next victim of that 40-degree banking. We'll go for a tumble, and then one of the drivers that made a lot of starts at the beginning of the season, Adam Lewis, is also going to fall victim. Fortunately, no one strikes him on his way down as he'll stay on his roof, and that's actually going to be a caution that takes us to the end of the duel. Richard Morris out in front, followed by Dylan Farrell, Andrew Ross, Jack Kitchell, and William Seaman. Highlighting the top 10 that will attempt to go for the feature race, and now we see who will be the top 6 in this event. And they will get to compete along with the full-timers. Jordan Probst making a big move to the inside of Justin Zeidel. Probst made the race at Texas World, and it would be his second make in 3 attempts if he's able to get in. A big move right here by Ryan Wenham. First attempt, and he is trying to go for a spot in line. Richard Morris makes a cut inside of Donnie Williams for the 6th place spot, while Etienne Jones hits the apron at the bottom of that 40-degree banking, gets loose and loses all his track position. Jordan Probst going to be first across the line, and we're going to have a few first-time starters in the field today. Probst obviously making his 2nd start, but Ryan Wenham in his first attempt will make the show. Andrew Ross making his first race as well. Richard Morris has made 3 races before. This will be his 4th. Tyler Sage, his first start in the series, and Richard Fridge, who made Mayville, will get the final transfer spot. Jack Kitchell and Dylan Farrell will be the ones that just miss out on making the field. Look at our hot seat driver for today, Adam Kuhn. 4 straight top 10s for him. He has been having that streak since Zen Joltis, a super speedway, which is impressive in itself. But he has carried that all the way through to the first race of the playoffs at Toronto Lakeshore with a 9th place finish that puts him in good position in the standings. He is second only to Jasper Rouse as we see those playoff standings. Steve Ray, Dalton Wise are going to need some good days to pull themselves out of the hole, while Clint McComb, he's also going to need a good day because he's only 1 point ahead of Steve Ray. That is just one spot in the field, and there are a lot of spots up for grabs, and having only completed one race in this round, pretty much every position is up for grabs, and only the top two, I would say, are in the safest positions in terms of trying to stay out of that back area. If you're third on back, you're going to need to fight for every position today, because when we head to Ontario, you're going to want to be in the best position possible. Let's head down trackside and get this race underway.
And now, race fans, for the 4 most famous words in motorsports, please welcome our Grand Marshal, the Vice President of Operations for Golden Entertainment, Mr. Todd Parmalee.
Drivers, start your engines!
Fire up, big guy.
42 truckers, engines fired, eager to get going here on this high-banked 1-mile oval. Let's take a look at where they're all starting. Out in front is the number 01 truck, your current points leader, Jasper Rawls, in the Best Buy Ford. Ryan Parsons starts next to him, number 79 Chevrolet with some new sponsorship from Sonic. Ross Kispin makes up the inside of row number 2, finished 11th at Toronto Lakeshore, and Ryan Wenham, a great starting spot in his first ever attempt. He is up there in the 4th position. Roger Ray lost his streak of 6 straight top 20s last race at Toronto. He will qualify in the top 5 though. Adam Kuhn, another playoff driver, on the outside of row 3. In row number 4, we have a pair of Ford drivers, Dylan Lexton and Jason Langley. In row 5, Josh McCoy, 3 straight top 10s for him entering this race. Moses Osborne, 10th place finishes on the shorter tracks this season. That's where he'll start today. Row 6 contains a pair of drivers who did not have good finishes at Toronto Lakeshore, Benny Seitzer and Emerson Sims, 40th and 38th respectively. The playoff miss finally turned into another top 10 run for Barry Watson at Toronto. He makes up the inside of row 7. To his outside, a playoff driver in Clint McComb looking for his first top 10 since Oswego. The next 2 spots are made up of playoff drivers, Tyler Reed, 4th in standings, Mike Simpson in 3rd. Richard Fridge, with his 2nd career start, starts in place number 17, and the Pig Sensi racing driver of Taylor the Pig to his outside. 2 drivers looking for their first top 10, Aaron Dumati and Keith Young, will round out the top 20 in qualifying. First career start for Andrew Ross, he's on the inside of row 11. Outside is Justin Lisenby, career best 3rd place at Toronto Lakeshore. Derek Anderline was the runner-up at Pikes Peak, which is a pretty similar distance to this mile-long racetrack. He's on the inside of row 12. Tyler Sage, making his first career start, he'll start from 24th. Below the playoff cut line is Steve Ray, he'll start on the inside of row 13. James Smith hasn't had a top 20 since then Joltis. He barely missed out on the playoffs, he'll start in place 26. Row 14 contains Essentia, who has struggled at the shorter tracks. Stephen Carmona got a 17th place at Oswego and Toronto Lakeshore, our shorter tracks on the season. Row 15 has Recency, who hasn't had a finish better than 35th over the past 3 races. Jim Fowler, currently 5th in standings, is place number 30. Row 16 has Hunter Cox and Carter Friesen, some mediocre finishes for them at Toronto, 34th and 28th. Richard Morris making his 4th career start, the 2nd most among part-timers to Luke Evans. He's on the inside of row 17, and to his outside is Kevin Knight, no better finish than 30th over the past 4 races. Row 18 has Daniel Boyles, 3 top 10s over the past 5 races, and Dalton Wise, who trails the playoff standings, furthest back chaser in the grid as well. In row 19, we've got Robbie Bell, career best 2nd at Toronto Lakeshore for him, and Jordan Probst, who won the part-timer race, 2nd made race in the past 3 attempts. Our most recent winner is on the inside of row 20, Jesse McConnell. To his outside, Billy Thompson, tied career best 5th place at Toronto last race. And bringing up the rear of the field, Trevor Nix, 15th place finish for him at Toronto, and Andy Quinn, no higher than 34th in races that are 1 mile or less. So that's a look at the 42 drivers going at it today in California. NFRN Extremes are beginning now. 8 in-car cameras for our playoff drivers. You can see how they are faring throughout this 50-lap event. The truckers go through that monstrous 40-degree banking and come onto the front stretch. The green flag flying. Playoff race number 2 for the NFRN Truck Series underway. everyone gets through turn 2 cleanly. The first time, it looked like they were going as many as 5 wide through that corner. That was a bit of a mess, but they still managed to take care of it. Jasper Rawls jumped out to a heck of a lead right off the bat. You can see they're still going 3 wide back there in the middle of the pack. Ryan Wenham qualified fourth, but he has slipped back a ton of positions. You can see it. Now he's on the high line here, and going to lose even more at quarter panel for Aaron Dumati. That Osek is dropping back like a rock. He had a great qualifying run, but already back to the middle of the field, just 2 laps in. A great story for the driver making his first attempt in the series, but right now the race performance is not there. Adam Kuhn trying to work his way back up. He has slipped to 8th place, but he has that low line, trying to see if he can get by Jason Langley there, as well as still Lexington up, way up high. And there's a flipping truck in turn 2. That's Taylor the Pig. Yellow flag flies, and 25 will land on all fours. Unfortunately, no one strikes him on the way down. Showing smoke, and he's going to try to limp that one down to pit lane, and looks like that's going to be in the end of his day, just a short amount of time into this one. Scored a best finish of 9th 2 races ago at Texas World, only 4 top 20s on the season, and today he's going to walk away with a last place finish as he's going to limp that one into his pit and out of the race. Jasper Rawls maintaining the lead. As we head to our first caution of the day, let's take a look at how this happened. And just like we saw in those dual races, 25 just getting a little too high in that turn. He's going to hit that wall, and just the change in the banking, hitting that wall, probably going to send that truck over, and indeed it did. Multiple flips. Fortunately, he is able to land on his tires and drive that one back. First caution of the day, 41 trucks still in contention.
The NASCAR Ride-Along program puts you in the action.
Can we stop?
Why?
Well, I'm fine, but Blotty really needs to stretch his legs.
Well, we're kind of winning. Can't you call timeout? Doesn't work that way. Oh, that's better. I could pit. NASCAR on ESPN. Come along for the ride.
If you are not a part of the NFRN and would like to get involved for the final few races of the season, driver signups are open for part-time truck series entries. That is only open to those that don't have full-time rides in any of the series. No need to sign up more than once. You will be entered for the remainder of the races this season. That will start at race number 12, and that deadline is 2 days away. Wrapping up our first caution of the day, Taylor the Pig has declared out after flipping in turn number 2. You're going to see Jasper Rawls take the field back to green. He got a great jump off the initial start. We'll see if he can do it again, and it looks like Ross Kissman is actually going to stay with him there. But as for making a move, it doesn't look like it's going to happen quite yet. Well, the 53 is looking low, but that high line out of turn 1 is going to provide a little bit of momentum. The 01 is going to maintain the advantage, leading the way, trying to see if he can make his way into the next round with a race victory. Got a great run there to turn 2 as he is able to propel himself away from Ross Kissman. That 53 truck's been having some good runs as of late. For the past 6 races, he's finished either 10th or 11th. The race before that at Twin Ring, he was the runner-up. Rawls trying to make sure that he holds Adam Kuhn behind him. The last 4 races have been great for the 19 driver. 4 top 10s, 2 of them being top 5s, and of course that victory at Texas World that got him into these playoffs. And the most recent winner, Jesse Mcconnell, he started a little bit further back in the field. You can see he's in front of Kevin Knight. Jordan Probst's way up the track now. He was really keen on getting into these playoffs. He was so close right at that cut line. Unfortunately, only 2 drivers able to get into open spots, and fortunate that there were 2 in the first place because Barry Watson fell out. But Mcconnell was not able to have enough momentum at Texas World to get him that spot, and if he had, he would be able to go to the round of 6, but now he's going to be playing a game of what-ifs for the rest of the season. Seeing an overview of the field as they go by. It's a little bit more strung out since they restarted single file. Mike Simpson there in the midst of that pack. He's 25 points ahead of the cut line, doing pretty solidly right now, trying to work his way underneath the 3 truck of Keith Young. He's done pretty well since he got his victory at Pikes Peak. Had his worst finish the race after at Twin Ring Motegi. That was in 32nd. Before the past 6 races, he's finished inside the top 20. So he has given himself consistent performances, making sure that he advances. And that is all you really need to do in order to make your way forward. A quick shout out, by the way, to Keith Young and that number 3 truck, Rayleigh's on the hood this week. Obviously, that team operates with rotating sponsors, only one big deal, but they got a career best finish at 13th last race at Toronto Lakeshore. So good runs coming for them, and they are trying to get improving. We see Dalton Wise on board him as he is trying to work his way back into playoff contention, but right now he's sliding backwards. The 6 truck now making his way underneath out of turn 2. You can see the struggles he's been having as of late. And honestly, when you look at the stat line, you could kind of see that this was going to be a bit of an uphill climb for him. Got that win at Trenton, great run at Zen Joltis Super Speedway, but other than that, really not very impressive and flashy numbers that would say this guy's going to make a deep run. And Clint McComb, we kind of thought that he might have something in the tank, but right now he is not really showing it. 33rd or worse, 3 of the past 4 races. Before that, he had 3 straight top 5 finishes, including that win. But right now, he is above the cut line, and that's really all he needs to see. He just needs to get himself into the round of 6. Tyler Reed, 31 points above the cut line as he is working his way up toward Adam Kuhn. He's in the 7th spot right now. Didn't have the greatest of runs at Toronto Lakeshore, finished 23rd, but right now he's making up for it and trying to see if he can get a good finish here. Stay on board with the 12 truck and see how they get around this course. As you can see right now, they're kind of running single file. They're trying to look for passing opportunities, and right there is a slip up by the 79 truck, and Adam Kuhn's going to try to take advantage on the low side. Coming out of turn 2 through the kink that they consider turn 3. Kuhn's still on the low side, but the 79 is going to have the advantage on the high side of turn 1. He's going to have the momentum. You can see Kuhn gets the run, but then Parsons is going to have the better exit. Now it's a matter of can he get down low and block the 19. And he can't do it, and so the 19 is going to go by the 79, and that's going to be a change of position, and now Roger Ray trying to challenge the 12 truck as he was kind of following the 79. The 19 trying to work his way forward as he's been able to pass up the 79, and now trying to get a move on Benny Seitzer. As we mentioned, that high side is going to be a little bit more advantageous down on that side of the racetrack, and so he's going to slip in a line and see what he can do to set them up once again. The 19 almost slipped up right there as we see Seitzer now in the 3rd position, 2nd at Texas World. He was so close to getting into the playoffs as well on a victory. He was unable to catch the guy behind him to the finish line, but he is trying to see if he can just go and get a victory here in these final 7 races. I think that's 6 races now that the first one is over with in the playoffs. Currently just holding up behind the 01 and the 53. Content where they are right now with about 30 laps to go. Jasper Rawls maintaining that lead and trying to see what he can do to get into the next round. 5 straight top 20s for him. He has really come on strong in the past few races, and this is what propelled him to an open spot in the playoffs and still looking for that first victory. And if things trend the way that they are right now, he has a good shot at it as long as he keeps it clean through these corners. And it wouldn't be much of a surprise to see that the drivers that did well at Toronto are doing well at this other mile-long course. Obviously, Jasper Rawls and Adam Kuhn both had top 10s at Toronto, and that was pretty much the only short track that we've been to that has been on pavement. Otherwise, we've been to Oswego, and that was on dirt, obviously. Tyler Reed did not have the great finish at Toronto, as we mentioned, but he's working his way up the field. As you can see, he's passed up Ryan Parsons and now up in the 5th position and trying to make a charge on Adam Kuhn going down into turn number 1. 12 truck working its way forward, and the 38 trying to maintain ground inside the top 10. New sponsorship on board in Albertsons. Got that run that he was looking for in 8th place at Toronto Lakeshore, but it was a week too late. He needed runs like that before the playoffs started to make sure that he maintained his spot. Unfortunately, it came a little too late, but obviously any good finishes that he can take is going to be something to work forward toward in the future. Mike Simpson trying to work his way underneath a couple of drivers. Richard Frage in the 07 truck. He's going to have the advantage in this corner unless the 09 can slide up, and actually, he's actually getting a good run underneath 76 right there. Might be able to maintain that. Riding on board Steve Ray and Clint McComb, who who are now only 2 and 4 points respectively above the cut line. Jim Fowler has closed that gap. I'm not sure if it's necessarily because the 72 is moving forward or because those two trucks right there are moving back. And obviously that cut line is getting a little bit more narrow, and that is going to be something to watch heading into the next race if it stays where it is at the moment. I gotta believe that the 21 and the 8 might be sliding back because the 72 is pretty far back there. And he is high right there. He's going to lose some ground, going to lose a spot to the 7 truck of Kevin Knight. And now the gap extending a little bit. Now it's 4 points between Ray and Fowler. Greenhouse data on the truck slated for this entire round of the playoffs. And all the way at the back is the 77 truck at 21 points behind the cut line. He is going to have to make up some ground right now, or else it might be a must-win situation heading into the next race at Ontario. This is a West Coast swing for the truckers. They'll head down to South California for the race at Ontario. Elite and Amateur will head to Wisconsin for Centel Park. That'll be an off week for the truckers, but then Elite will join the Truck Series at Ontario. Looking at the 79 here, we should mention this new sponsorship from Sonic. This is actually kind of a throwback scheme. The truckers did not have a throwback weekend for themselves, but this is a throwback scheme for Clint Boyer's late model. Same primary sponsorship, same number, and same number font. They tried to replicate what it looked like, and did a pretty cool job of it. We're hearing that the 01 truck is going to head down the pit lane, and we might see some people follow him. He's going to overshoot the pits, though, and he is going to land on the apron. The 01 truck from the lead coming down for a scheduled stop at halfway. He is going to overshoot the pits, and everyone goes by him. What a huge mental mistake there by the leader of the race and playoff contender, Jasper Rawls. Man, that was a big mistake by the 01 truck. He was trying to come down to pit lane. He just completely goes by where he's trying to enter, and that's that little runoff there that the trucks are now heading down. What a big miss there. But now we're going to see everyone else come down, and this is going to be the only stop that they're going to necessarily need to make. Kind of an interesting scenario. I don't think we've seen a mass number of cars come down for a set of pit stops under caution since Nazareth. Texas World, pretty much everyone had taken their pit stops by the time the caution flew at the end of the Elite Cup race. And last set of races at Toronto and Nashville, no cautions in those races. So kind of seeing something we haven't seen in a while. We also had no cautions at Mayville, being a road course. We're looking at the playoff drivers now. Adam Kuhn, Tyler Reed have made their way into their stalls. Kuhn's still up on the jacks right now, and it looks like it's going to be a 2-tire stop for Reed and possibly for Kuhn also. It looks like we might have 2 tires across the board. Tyler Reed pulls away. Adam Kuhn having a bit of an extended stop, and Ross Kissman's going to win the race off pit lane. Everyone just starting to make their way off, and the 19th truck had a bit of a longer stop. A little bit interesting to see how long they took. I don't know if you really have to be worried about fuel, but a few guys gaining positions on that set of pit stops. Barry Watson goes up 5 spots, while the playoff drivers Tyler Reed, Adam Kuhn drop back 3 and 5 spots respectively. Jasper Rawls overshoots pit lane. Playoff contender now in a little bit of danger. He brings out our second caution here at Derek's Moto-Drome.
Giddy on up, giddy on out.
Back at Derek's Moto-Drome Raceway Park from El Dorado, California. The leading driver, Jasper Rawls, overshoots pit lane, trying to make a scheduled stop. He now ends up a lap down. Ross Kissman now leading the way. Benny Seitzer behind him. Dylan Lexton in third. Looks like the majority of the teams went for 2 tires, satisfied with just taking the right sides and making sure they have enough fuel to get to the end. A 3-wide situation here for the lead. Dylan Lexton all the way on the bottom, trying to make the run work, and Jasper Rawls hoping for a caution to get back on the lead lap. And Lexton should have the advantage here, but Benny Seitzer holding strong on the middle line. Following Jasper Rouse, and the 83 car gets out to the front. Holding strong there, looking for his first victory. Just couldn't make it happen at Texas World to get himself into the playoffs. But now can he go to a mile-long track and try to take one for himself? Jasper Rouse runs in front of him. That's not for position, that's just for the 01 truck to stay on the lead lap. And if he can, that would allow him to make some passes on cars from the back of the field. But meanwhile, Dylan Lexton is right up against the back of the 83 truck, but Josh McCoy trying to make a move to the inside. We'll see if he can actually pull that off in turns 1 and 2. He's going to have to get a great run off the corner. I'm sure the 60 is going to have a solid run going here. McCoy is doing great as of late, 3 straight top 10s, and he could be on pace for a 4th. Just has to maintain his ground, and he has got the inside line, able to make his way in the 2nd, and a 3-wide situation here. Ross Kispin trying to fight his way back into contention. He'll find his way to 3rd. Dylan Lexton back to 4th now. And Tyler Reed trying to fight his way back. He lost ground in the pits, and he's going to get by Barry Watson on the inside. Has the advantage going down into turn 2. He is now the highest running playoff driver, and that puts him 41 points ahead of the cut line. We should look at the cut line, and Jasper Rouse, despite being now in 41st position, he's still 26 points above the cut line, and that's because some of the guys that are around the cut line are still very far back in the field. They are not able to take advantage of the fact that the 01 is back there. Well, the 12 truck now in 6th place, trying to see if he can make his way around Emerson Sims. Runs a little bit of a lower line than the 55, but doesn't seem to matter. He gets a good run off the corner anyway. Mike Simpson in a little bit of traffic. Essentia on his inside. Andy Quinn in front of him. Simpson, though, is 40 points ahead. If these guys can get 46 points ahead of the driver in 6th place, that will clinch them into the next round, even if they don't get a victory. On Seitzer now looking to the inside of Jasper Rouse. That would put him back a lap down. Can't make that move work. The 01 still looking strong, but obviously he is not in the lead anymore because he made that mental mistake coming down the pit lane, did not judge his entry correctly, and that has caused him to put himself in a little bit more of a hole than he expected to be in. As we see another 3-wide situation here. Stephen Carmona in the middle of Kevin Knight and last race winner Jesse McConnell. Carmona tied his career best finish of 17th last race at Toronto, and trying to see if he can catch up to Adam Kuhn and Mike Simpson, maybe try to improve it even more. Got a good run off the corner, trying to see if he can take advantage of doing something with it, just as the 83 is trying to do. Trying to find a way around the 01 truck and just give him a little bit of a gap between him and Josh McCoy in 2nd place. Going further back in the field, now it's Clint McComb that is underneath the cut line. Steve Ray is 4 points ahead of the 8 truck. Dalton Wise is not too far behind the 8, and now that gap is just extending. Steve Ray is starting to make his way up the field, and McComb is starting to drop back. Dalton Wise is still looking for position. He's actually just a couple trucks ahead of the 8. But he was far enough back to start the race that he is still trying to make up those points. You see a side-by-side battle here. Dylan Lexton trying to get around the 53 truck. He's just going to barely edge him out at the line. But now it's a matter of can the 60 get enough momentum off the corner to make the pass. Not going to happen yet. Going to see if he can get it down into turn 2. As long as he is still able to stay side by side, and it looks like he will. The 60 should be able to make the pass there, and now he's up into 3rd place. Lexton has made his mark on the super speedways. Both his top 5s on the season come at super speedways, and now he's making a mark at the mile-long track, as there's a big jumble back here, and Dalton Wise is a part of it. A lot of trucks here. 4 wide going in the corner, and there might have been contact between him and Moses Osborne. Lucky to save that one. He got loose going into turn 1, and he is going to fade all the way to the back of the field. That was the last thing he needed. Trying to fight back Ryan Wenham, who qualified in 4th place. He's back here now, as he has had pretty much a horrible day since he started. And now the cut line is tied. Steve Ray, Clint McComb, both at the same amount of points right now. Dalton Wise still 9 points back. Jim Fowler 10 points ahead. Tyler Reed still in 7th spot. He's only chase driver up here in the top 10. I think we failed to mention Daniel Boyles did come down. I believe he is 1 or 2 laps down at this point, and we'll see on the leaderboard as it comes by. I believe he made some contact on pit lane. His foot is now off the race truck as Reed tries to make a move to the inside of Andrew Ross, and there we go, 2 laps down for Boyles. Jasper Rawls now in 40th spot. That gives him 1 extra point. As the battle between the 12 and the 75 continues down into turn 1. Might be able to slot in right in front of the 75. Steve Ray has dropped all the way back to where Dalton Wise is, and now the cut line is 6 points for McComb. And he's not that far ahead, but Steve Ray had an advantage, and now he's lost it all. Fading to the back of the field, but now Clint McComb up the hill, and now he's going to lose some points at the cut line. And it's now down to 4, and we should mention this is not the last race of the round. That will take place at Ontario, but obviously where they finish out this race is going to play a big part of how they run next week. It's a bit of a super speedway, Ontario is. Obviously there's going to be a little bit of braking, unlike the restrictor plates, but is still a very big tracking. Different driver skills could play a factor in that one. Looking out the back of Jasper Rawls, who hasn't caught a break. 3 laps to go in the race, and he is not going to get the caution that he needs in order to gain positions. At this point, he's just hoping for a big wreck that allows him to gain those positions, because he's not going to be able to get it on green flag racing. Oh, look at Emerson Sims making a move to the inside of Ross Kissman. That's for 4th place. What a run for Sims. He has had quite a horrible season. 1 top 20 on the year, and right now he is putting up a great performance. That top 20 came at Trenton, a 19th. It's race number 4. Right now that 55 is having quite a day. Still racing with the 53 truck at the moment, and here comes Tyler Reed going to the inside of the 53. That's for 5th place. Coming to the white flag, and Benny Seitzer holds the lead. Able to take control of the race. Kispin had the lead on the restart, but he has drifted all the way back to 7th. The 83 has been able to hold it down despite Rawls being in front of him. The driver came so close to a win at Texas World. He also had a 3rd place at Trenton, but right now he has been able to keep it consistent and take control. Benny Seitzer are going to win the race here at Derek's Moto-Drome. What a good run for the 83 Seaman. That race really picked up intensity once we got into the back half. Everyone was keeping it conservative right at the front. They knew when they had to start to turn on the jets, and they really delivered the best racing once we got to that point. And the 83 was able to take advantage, get to the inside of Ross Kispin, and take home the win. So as we take a look at the official results from this race, everyone in the top 5 either earning or tying their career best finish. Josh McCoy extending his streak of top 10s to 4. Really impressive run going for him despite not being a playoff driver. And Tyler Reed will end up being the best playoff driver in 6th place, able to record a good run that puts him 2nd in the standings. Ross Kispin was able to lead off pit lane and take advantage of the restart, but was unable to hold a position. He'll still come home with top 10. That will be his 4th of the season. Good days for some of the part-timers. Richard Morris records his first top 10 in his career. Andrew Ross comes home with a nice 11th place run in his first ever race. Mike Simpson and Adam Kuhn recording top 15 runs that will put them in good position heading into the final race of the round of 8. And Justin Mcconnell ends up jumping up to 20th after starting the race near the back of the field. Ryan Parsons was holding his own at the start of the race, ends up back in 21st position. Doesn't look like that's going to translate to a good finish. Interestingly enough, we see that there's no playoff drivers in this grouping. We go back to 31st to 40th, and we'll see 5 drivers, including Jasper Rawls, had that issue. Stayed on the lead lap ultimately, but he's going to end up back in 40th position, unable to gain positions. But Clint McComb, Dalton Wise, Steve Ray, they came into this race all next to each other at the cut line, and they are staying right next to each other in this race. That's barely going to move the cut line for all of them. Everyone else, or at least most of everyone else, is going to take advantage of them being near the back of the field and still all tied up with each other. They are going to be fighting for the last advancing spot among each other. Jim Fowler up there in 32nd position. Not a good day for him either, but he is able to get a little bit of an advantage over the rest of these guys. And as we mentioned, a great qualifying day for Ryan Wenham, and he ends up back in 39th position, just wasn't able to hold the ground. And in the last 2 spots, Daniel Voiles came down during the green flag for a pit stop. Looked like he had to get some damage repaired. He ends up 2 laps down, and Taylor the Pig is the only DNF in this one after flipping in turn number 2. So here's how the playoff picture looks like going into Ontario. Adam Kuhn just missing out on officially clinching himself into the next round. However, the gap that he has over the cut line, he is fairly safe. Tyler Reed, Mike Simpson, I would say they are also pretty safe as well. And Jasper Rouse is kind of in the middle ground. He seems pretty safe unless he has a catastrophic day compared to those guys that are at or below the cut line. But really, it's going to come down to those 3 guys from 6th to 8th. McComb, Ray, Wise, they all finished next to each other and really didn't move the cut line for themselves. So they're going to be duking it out for the last spot into the round of 6. And we will see how they fare once we get out of the 2.5-mile oval. A look at how the standings will shake up after this event, and Josh McCoy and Dylan Luxton able to close some ground on 9th place Jesse McConnell, who came home in 20th position. Ross Kispin there in 13th, able to gain a little bit of ground as well. Meanwhile, Benny Seitzer, the winner of the race, ends up in 18th spot. We see Barry Watson climbing up to 21st position. Unfortunately for him, he needed to be inside the top 25 at the end of race number 8, so his win at Columbia did not yield a championship contention spot, but he is trying to see what he can do for the rest of his NFRN career, maybe trying to see if he can succeed at a title later on. And we look at the back of the field, and Emerson Sims, finally having a good day, is able to climb a little bit away from the depths of the back of the field. Trevor Nix now holding that dreaded last place spot among the full-timers, and they're starting to build a little bit of a gap over the part-timers who have qualified for a few races and put up good runs in the times that they're around. From a team standing perspective, Western Motorsports holding on to that lead over Eagle Motorsport. Obviously, Josh McCoy really putting up some good performances as of late. And Ryan Parsons also trying to contribute. And here are those top 14 guys once again in the standings that will be attempting to run the Amateur Cup race later on tonight at NASCAR. Plenty of familiar names from past weeks, although Hunter Cox missed the opportunity to try to qualify for the first time last week. He is going to be back in the lineup after being 14th in points. So a bit of a quiet start to the 50-lap event ends up turning into a bit of a wild one at the end. A lot of guys scrambling for positions, and we end up with a first-time winner in Benny Seitzer claiming the victory here in California. We are going to stay on this side of the states with the Truck Series, heading down to Ontario for our next event, the end of the round of 8. But coming up later tonight, we've got Amateur and Elite Cup action from NASCAR up in Washington. This has been Colin Denton with NFRN and RVN, and we hope to see you next time.